You wanted a monster? Now you've got one.
I found the list on a Tuesday morning, which is fitting because Tuesdays have always been garbage days in more ways than one. My head throbbed from last night's whiskey. Cheap stuff, the kind that tastes like regret and burns like truth. I was gathering clothes for the dry cleaner, my old leather jacket that smelled like better days, when I spotted Karen's coat crumpled behind the bedroom door. Navy blue, expensive, the kind she wore to important meetings. I should have just left it there. Should have minded my own business like I'd been doing for the past 3 years of our slowly dying marriage. But something made me check the pockets. Maybe curiosity, maybe that little voice that tells you to look at the car crash, even though you know you shouldn't. The paper was crumpled, soft from being handled. 6 names written in Karen's precise handwriting. Jessica Thornton, Amanda Reed, Brittany Cole, Sarah Mitchell, Emma Lawson, Katie Brennan. No context, no phone numbers, just names written in blue ink, folded, and forgotten. Not even a lipstick mark for the husband, I muttered, shoving both coats into a garbage bag. Classy. My name's Nick Evans. I'm 38, own a small IT consulting business, and I'm married to a woman who treats our house like a hotel between business trips. We have a daughter, Sophie, who's 15 and has perfected the art of looking at me like I'm furniture that came with the place. The dry cleaner was Old Man Eddie's shop, a strip mall relic wedged between a nail salon and a vape store. Eddie had known my father before the cancer took him, back when this neighborhood was something other than faded paint and broken promises. Nick, Eddie said, his voice gravelly from 65 years of cigarettes and disappointment. What brings you in? Coats? Mine and Karen's? I dropped the bag on the counter. Standard cleaning. Eddie pulled out Karen's coat, and something shifted in his expression. He checked the pockets. Procedure, he always said. People leave pens that explode. And his weathered hands stilled. This your wife's? He asked. Yeah. Why? He didn't answer, just wrote up the ticket with more care than usual. When he handed it to me, his eyes held something I couldn't read. Knowledge, maybe, or warning. Come back Friday, he said. I'll have them ready. I left feeling like I'd missed something important, like a punchline I didn't understand. That night, Karen came home at 9:30, her usual time when she wasn't traveling. She looked tired, beautiful in that distant way that made me remember why I'd fallen for her a decade ago, before the consulting firm, before the international clients and the business trips that lasted weeks. How was work? I asked, because that's what you ask when you've run out of real questions. Exhausting. Martin wants the Singapore proposal by Friday. She kicked off her heels, poured herself wine. I might need to fly out next week. Martin Gray, her boss, 42, divorced, drove a Porsche, and wore suits that cost more than my monthly mortgage. I'd met him once at a company party, watched him touch Karen's lower back while laughing at something she said. The touch lasted 2 seconds too long. Another trip, I said, keeping my voice neutral. It's my job, Nick. The edge in her voice was familiar, sharp enough to cut, but dull enough to pretend it was accidental. Some of us have careers that require travel. And there it was. The subtle dig. The reminder that my little IT business, my 12 local clients, and my office above the boxing gym wasn't a real career. Not like hers. Sophie came downstairs, earbuds in, barely glancing at either of us. I'm sleeping at Jen's tomorrow night. School night, I said. Mom already said yes. I looked at Karen, who shrugged. Her grades are fine. Another decision made without me. Another reminder that I was outvoted in my own house. I went to bed early, listening to Karen's fingers tap on her laptop in the guest room she'd converted into a home office. The names from the paper circled in my head like vultures. Jessica Thornton, Amanda Reed, Brittany Cole. I pulled out my phone and Googled the first name. The news article was 6 months old. Local woman still missing, family pleads for information. Jessica Thornton, 23. Last seen leaving her apartment in our town. No leads, no suspects. My stomach tightened. I searched the second name, Amanda Reed. Missing for 8 months. Last seen at a gas station 30 miles from here. My hands started shaking. By the time I finished searching all 6 names, it was 2 a.m. and I couldn't breathe right. 6 women, all missing, all from our region, all within the past 2 years, all on a list in my wife's coat pocket. I wanted to storm into her office, demand answers. But something stopped me. Maybe survival instinct. Maybe the part of my brain that still worked despite the panic. Instead, I took photos of every article, saved them to a folder on my phone, and tried to sleep. I couldn't. The next morning, Karen was already gone when I woke up. A note on the counter. Early meeting, home late, love you. The love you felt like a lie. But maybe everything did now. I dropped Sophie at school. She spent the entire drive on her phone ignoring me and headed to the gym. My buddy Alex was there, hitting the heavy bag with the kind of precision that came from 20 years as a cop before his knees gave out. "You look like heck," he said, not stopping his rhythm. "Rough night." "Karen? When isn't it Karen?" He grunted through a combination. "You ever think about just leaving? Clean break?" I had, 1,000 times. But there was Sophie, and the house, and the weight of 10 years together. You don't just walk away from that, even when it's ending you. "It's complicated," I said. "It always is." I wanted to tell him about the list, about the missing women. But it sounded insane even in my head. What was I going to say? My wife has a list of missing women, so clearly she's involved in something sinister? She probably had a perfectly reasonable explanation. Maybe it was for a podcast she listened to, or a book she was reading. Except Karen didn't listen to podcasts, and she only read business books. Friday came. I picked up the coats from Eddie's, and he handed me the regular bag plus a smaller paper package sealed with tape. "What's this?" I asked. Eddie looked around the empty shop, then leaned close. "Found it in your wife's coat. In the lining, there was a tear." "What is it?" "Hair, different colors, and—" He paused. "Some of it has red on the roots." The world tilted. "You got a family?" Eddie asked, his voice low. "You might want to be careful." I took the package with numb fingers, drove home in a daze, and locked myself in my office above the gym. The package sat on my desk like a bomb. Inside were strands of hair, blonde, brunette, red, black, each in a small plastic bag, labeled with initials that matched the names on the list, JTARBCSMLKB. Some strands had dark residue on the roots, dried and old. My phone buzzed. A text from Sophie. "With Mom. She says we're going on a surprise trip. Be back Sunday." My blood froze. I called Sophie, straight to voicemail. I called Karen. It rang once, then went to voicemail. "Surprise?" I said to my empty office. The last time Karen surprised me, I got a divorce lawyer's card for my birthday. I grabbed my keys and ran. The airport was 40 minutes away, but I made it in 25, breaking every speed limit and praying no cops were bored enough to care. My mind raced faster than my truck, spinning scenarios that ranged from paranoid to terrifying. Maybe Karen was just taking Sophie shopping. Maybe the hair was from a charity drive. Maybe I was losing my mind and seeing connections that didn't exist, except the red stains. You don't get that on hair from a charity drive. I parked illegally and sprinted into the terminal, scanning the departure boards. Flights to Chicago, Atlanta, Miami, Seattle. Too many options. I pulled out my phone and called Sophie again. Voicemail. I tried Karen's number. Same result. "Think, Nick," I muttered, earning stares from passing travelers. "Where would she go?" My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Stop looking. This is your only warning." My hands shook as I dialed emergency. "I need to report a possible kidnapping," I said when the operator answered. "What's your emergency, sir?" "My daughter. My wife took her, and I think—" I stopped. What did I think? That my wife was involved with missing women because of a list and some hair. I think my daughter might be in danger. "Is there a custody dispute?" "No, we're married, but—" "Has your wife made threats?" "Not exactly, but—" "Sir, if there's no custody order and your wife hasn't made specific threats, this is a domestic matter. You'll need to contact a family lawyer." "There are 6 missing women," I said, desperation making me reckless. "My wife has a list of their names and their hair hidden in her coat." A pause. "Sir, are you saying your wife is involved in these disappearances?" "I don't know, maybe. I just need to find my daughter." "What's your name, sir?" I hung up. Calling the cops was a mistake. I sounded insane, and they'd waste time investigating me while Karen and Sophie got further away. I needed help, but not from the police. Alex answered on the second ring. "What's wrong?" "I need you, now. Airport, Terminal B." "On my way." While I waited, I did what I should have done earlier. I checked Karen's social media, her email, anything I could access. Her Facebook was locked down, but her Instagram was public. The last post was from 3 days ago, a sunset photo with the caption, "Sometimes you need to escape." Escape. The word felt loaded. Alex arrived 20 minutes later, his old cop instincts kicking in the moment he saw my face. "Talk," he said. I showed him everything. The list, the hair, the missing women's articles, the text message. He listened without interrupting, his expression growing darker. "You should have called me immediately," he said. "I know, I thought I was being paranoid. Paranoid would be one name. 6 is a pattern." He pulled out his phone. "I still have contacts at the department. Let me make some calls." While Alex worked his network, I searched Karen's recent credit card statements. I had access to our joint account, though she'd been using it less lately. 3 days ago, a charge at a hotel 2 hours north. The Riverside Inn. "Alex," I said, showing him the charge. "She was here, recently." He took a photo of the statement. "That's near where 2 of these women disappeared, Amanda Reed and Sarah Mitchell. The pieces were connecting, forming a picture I didn't want to see." "We need to go there," I said. "We need to be smart about this. If Karen's involved in something, confronting her without proof could be dangerous. For you and Sophie. She has my daughter, which is why we do this right." Alex made another call, spoke in low tones, then hung up. "I've got a friend in the department, Detective Jules Ramirez. She's good, and she owes me. She'll look into this quietly." "How long?" 24 hours, maybe less." "I don't have 24 hours. Nick?" She texted me about a surprise trip. "What if they're going to that hotel? What if—" I couldn't finish the sentence. Couldn't voice the fear that my wife, the woman I'd shared a bed with for 10 years, might hurt our daughter. Alex gripped my shoulder. "We'll find them, but if you go charging in without a plan, you could make things worse. Trust me on this." I wanted to argue, but he was right. I was running on panic and adrenaline, not logic. "Fine," I said, 24 hours. "But if we don't have answers by then, I'm going to that hotel." "Fair enough. In the meantime, let's see what else we can find." We spent the afternoon digging through Karen's digital footprint. Alex had tools from his cop days, programs that could recover deleted files and track location data. It wasn't exactly legal, but neither was whatever Karen was doing. Her laptop was at home, locked in her office. I'd never tried to access it before, some last vestige of trust or respect for privacy. That was gone now. We broke into her office at 6 p.m. The lock was simple, the kind that keeps out casual snoops but not someone motivated. Her laptop sat on the desk, closed, password protected. "You know her passwords?" Alex asked. "I can guess." I tried her birthday, Sophie's birthday, our anniversary, all failed. "Try her work stuff," Alex suggested. I typed in her employee ID number, then her boss's name, Martin, 2019. The laptop unlocked. "Jesus," Alex muttered. "She's using her boss's name as a password?" "They're close," I said, my voice flat. I'd suspected an affair for months, but having proof, even indirect proof, still stung. Her email was a goldmine of information, work correspondence mostly, but buried in a folder labeled Research were documents that made my skin crawl. Interviews, dozens of them. Audio files labeled with initials, JT, Arkansas, BC, and the others. I clicked on one. A young woman's voice filled the room. "I don't know why I'm telling you this. I've never told anyone." Karen's voice, warm and sympathetic. "It's okay. This is a safe space. Tell me about your family." The woman talked about a harmful father, a mother who looked the other way, a childhood of fear and pain. Karen asked probing questions, gentle but persistent, drawing out details. The recording ended abruptly. "What the heck is this?" Alex asked. I opened another file. Another woman, another story of trauma, and another, and another. "She's interviewing them," I said. "All of them, the missing women." "When were these recorded?" I checked the file dates, all within the past 2 years, all weeks or days before each woman disappeared. "She's targeting them," Alex said, his cop brain making connections. "Finding vulnerable women, gaining their trust, and then—" "Then what?" I demanded. "What's she doing with them?" "I don't know, but we need to get this to Ramirez, now." Before we could move, my phone buzzed. A text from Sophie. "Dad, where are you? Mom's acting weird?" Relief and terror hit simultaneously. "She's alive! She's texting!" I called immediately. Sophie answered on the first ring. "Dad? Sophie, where are you?" "Some hotel. Mom said it was a surprise weekend, but she's been on her phone the whole time and won't tell me what we're doing here." "What hotel? What's it called?" The Riverside something? We just checked in." The same hotel from the credit card statement. "Sophie, listen to me very carefully. I need you to stay in your room and lock the door. Don't go anywhere with Mom until I get there." "Dad, you're scaring me." "I know, sweetheart, but trust me. Lock the door. I'll be there in 2 hours." "Is Mom in trouble?" "Just lock the door, please. Okay. She hung up. I looked at Alex. We're going, I said. Absolutely right we are. We took Alex's car, a beat-up sedan that didn't look like much but had an engine he'd rebuilt himself. The drive north was tense, silent except for the hum of asphalt and my racing thoughts. What was Karen doing at that hotel? Why bring Sophie? And what did she plan to do next? My phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. You should have stayed home, Nick. Now you've made this complicated. Someone's tracking me, I said, showing Alex the message. Or tracking your phone. He pulled over at a gas station. Give it here. He popped out the SIM card, crushed it under his heel, and handed the phone back. Use mine if you need to make calls. They can't track what doesn't ping. We got back on the road. An hour later, just as the sun was setting, Alex's phone rang. He answered, listened, and his expression darkened. That was Ramirez, he said after hanging up. She pulled the case files on the missing women. All 6 had one thing in common. What? They all filed police reports about stalking in the weeks before they disappeared. Someone was following them, watching them. But the reports went nowhere because there was no evidence. No suspect. Karen was stalking them, I said, gaining their trust and stalking them. Or someone else was. Ramirez is looking into it, but Nick, there's something else. What? Karen's name came up in connection with another case, a 7th woman who went missing 3 years ago, before your list. The woman's family mentioned that a consultant from Karen's firm had been asking questions about their daughter days before she vanished. 3 years ago. Before the list. Before the hair collection. How long has this been going on? I whispered. I don't know, but we're about to find out. We reached the Riverside Inn at 8:30. It was a small place, the kind of hotel that catered to fishermen and truckers, not tourists. Karen's car was in the parking lot. Room number? Alex asked. I called Sophie from Alex's phone. What's your room number? 212. Dad, when are you getting here? I'm in the parking lot. Stay put. We climbed the exterior stairs to the 2nd floor. Room 212 was at the end. Curtains drawn, lights on. I knocked. Karen, it's me. Open up. Silence. I knocked again. Karen, I know you're in there. I just want to talk. The door opened a crack. Karen's face appeared, perfectly composed, but her eyes were cold. Nick, what are you doing here? I could ask you the same thing. Surprise trip with Sophie? It's none of your business. She's my daughter. That makes it my business. You're being paranoid again. We're just having a mother-daughter weekend. Then why did she text me that you were acting weird? Something flickered in Karen's expression. Anger, maybe, or calculation. She's 15. Everything I do is weird to her. Let me see her. No. Karen, you need to leave, Nick, now, before you make this worse. Worse than what? Worse than 6 missing women? Worse than the hair in your coat? Her face went blank. I don't know what you're talking about. Jessica Thornton, Amanda Reed, Brittany Cole. Should I keep going? Those names mean nothing to me. Really? Because you interviewed all of them. I heard the recordings. Her composure cracked just for a second. You went through my computer? You're absolutely right, I did. And I found everything, the interviews, the stalking reports, all of it. You have no idea what you're talking about. Then explain it to me. She started to close the door, but Alex wedged his foot in. Ma'am, I think it's time we all had a conversation, he said, his voice calm but firm. For Sophie's sake. Karen looked at Alex, recognizing the cop in him even without the badge. Her expression shifted, became calculating. Fine, she said, but not here. Sophie doesn't need to hear this. I'm not letting you out of my sight, I said. There's a diner across the street. We can talk there. I didn't trust her, but I also couldn't force my way into the room without making things worse. Sophie stays in the room, locked door. Agreed, Karen called into the room. Sophie, honey, I'm going to talk to your father for a few minutes. Stay here, okay? Is everything okay? Sophie's voice, small and scared. Everything's fine. Lock the door behind me. We walked to the diner in tense silence. The place was nearly empty, just a waitress and a trucker nursing coffee at the counter. We took a booth in the back. Talk? I said. Karen folded her hands on the table, her business persona sliding into place. You're right. I interviewed those women. It's for a project. What kind of project involves stalking vulnerable women? I wasn't stalking them. I was documenting their stories. For a book. A book. About domestic misuse and how the system fails victims. I was gathering first-hand accounts. Then why hide it? Why not tell me? Because you wouldn't understand. You never understand my work. Try me. She sighed, the sound theatrical. These women reached out to me through a support group I volunteer with online. They wanted to share their stories anonymously. I was helping them. And the hair? What hair? The hair I found in your coat, with their initials, some of it with red stains. She blinked, and for a moment I saw genuine confusion. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me, Karen. I'm not lying. I have no idea what hair you're referring to. Either she was an incredible actress or she was telling the truth. But if she didn't put the hair in her coat, who did? Someone's setting you up, Alex said, reading my thoughts. Or setting both of you up. Karen's eyes widened. What do you mean? 6 women, all missing, all connected to you, all with evidence planted in your possession. Someone wants you to take the fall. That's insane. Is it? Who has access to your coat, your office? Karen went pale. Martin? Your boss? We've been working closely on a project. He has keys to my office, access to my things. Are you sleeping with him? I asked, the question bitter on my tongue. She looked away. That's not relevant? It's extremely relevant. Fine, yes. We had an affair. It's over now. When did it end? 2 weeks ago. I broke it off and he didn't take it well. Alex leaned forward. What did he say when you ended it? That I'd regret it. That I was making a mistake. He got intense. Intense how? He showed up at my house when Nick was out. He called me constantly. He said he'd ruin me if I didn't reconsider. The pieces were rearranging, forming a new picture. He's framing you, I said, for the disappearances. But why? Because you rejected him. Because he's a narcissist who can't handle losing control. Karen's hands shook. If he's been setting me up, then Sophie. We all realized it at the same time. Sophie's alone in that room, I said, already running. We sprinted across the street, up the stairs. The door to room 212 was open. Sophie was gone. On the bed, written in lipstick on the mirror. You should have stayed quiet. The room spun. My daughter was gone, taken by a man who'd already made 6 women disappear. And it was my fault for leaving her alone. We need to call the police, Karen said, her voice shaking. Right now. Alex was already on his phone with Detective Ramirez, explaining the situation in terse, professional terms. I stood frozen, staring at the lipstick message, my mind refusing to process what was happening. Nick. Karen grabbed my arm. We'll find her. We will. This is because of you, I said, the words cold and hard. Your affair, your lies, your... My what? My attempt to have something in my life that wasn't suffocating? You checked out of this marriage years ago, Nick. Don't pretend you're the victim here. Our daughter is missing and you're talking about our marriage? Our daughter is missing because of Martin, not me. Alex stepped between us. Both of you stop. This isn't helping. Ramirez is sending units to Martin Gray's address and his office. She's putting out an alert for Sophie. But we need to think, where would he take her? I don't know, Karen said. I don't know anything about his personal life. We just... at work and sometimes hotels. Think harder. Did he ever mention a place, a property, anywhere he liked to go? Karen closed her eyes, concentrating. He has a condo downtown. That's where we met. But he also mentioned something about a warehouse. His family's old business, something he inherited but never sold. Where? By the river. The industrial district. He said it was worthless property, but he kept it for sentimental reasons. Alex was already typing on his phone. Ramirez is checking property records. If he owns it, we'll find it. My phone, Alex's phone, buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Come alone to 1847 Riverside Drive. Bring the evidence. No police, or Sophie pays the price. I showed them the message. It's a trap, Alex said. I don't care. Nick, he has my daughter. I'm going. Then I'm coming with you. He said alone. And you think he's going to play fair? He's a butcher, Nick. You can't negotiate with him. Karen grabbed the phone. Let me go. I'm the one he wants. Absolutely not, I said. He's obsessed with me. If I show up, he'll focus on me. That gives you a chance to get Sophie out. Or he ends you both. I don't care. She's my daughter, too. For the first time in years, I saw genuine emotion in Karen's eyes. Not the calculated corporate mask, not the distant politeness, but raw, terrified love. We all go, Alex said, but we do it smart. Ramirez is on our way with backup. We stall until they arrive. And if he hurts Sophie while we're stalling, He won't, not yet. He wants an audience. Guys like Martin, they need to be seen, to be acknowledged. He'll wait. I hoped Alex was right. We drove to Riverside Drive in silence. The industrial district was a graveyard of failed businesses, empty factories, rusted fences, broken windows. Number 1847 was a large warehouse, the end of a dead-end street, its walls covered in graffiti, its parking lot full of weeds. Martin's Porsche was parked outside. "He's here," Karen whispered. "Stay behind me," Alex said, pulling a tool from his ankle holster. "And if I tell you to run, you run. Understood?" We nodded. The warehouse door was unlocked. Inside, the space was cavernous and dark, lit only by dusty windows high above. Old equipment sat rusting in corners, and the air smelled of mold and decay. "Sophie!" I called out. "Sophie, are you here?" "Dad?" Her voice came from the back of the warehouse. I ran toward it, Alex and Karen close behind. Sophie was tied to a chair in what looked like an old office, her face streaked with tears but otherwise unharmed. Martin stood beside her, holding a knife. "Stop right there," he said calmly, "or I cut her throat." I froze. Martin looked different than I remembered from the company party. Disheveled, unshaven, his expensive suit rumpled and stained. But his eyes were sharp, focused, almost excited. "Nick Evans," he said, smiling. "The boring husband. I've heard so much about you." "Let her go, Martin. This is between us." "Is it? Because from where I'm standing, this is about Karen. It's always been about Karen." "I ended it," Karen said, stepping forward. "I told you it was over. Why are you doing this?" "Because you humiliated me." His voice rose, losing its calm. "You used me, led me on, made me think we had something real, and then you tossed me aside like I was nothing. We had an affair, that's all it was. That's all it was to you. To me, it was everything. I left my wife for you, I risked my career for you, and you just walked away." "So you framed her for homicide?" I said. "You ended 6 women to get revenge?" Martin laughed, the sound echoing in the empty warehouse. "Ended them? I didn't end anyone. I saved them." "What?" "Those women were broken, damaged, living in misery with harmful families, dead-end lives. I gave them a way out. New identities, new lives, far from here. They're grateful." "You're insane," Karen said. "I'm a savior. But you'll never understand that. You only care about yourself, your career, your perfect image. So I decided to destroy that image, plant evidence, make you look like a monster, let you feel what it's like to lose everything." "And Sophie?" I asked, my voice shaking with rage. "What does she have to do with this?" "Insurance, to make sure you both cooperate." He pressed the knife closer to Sophie's throat. "Now, where's the evidence? The hair, the recordings, all of it?" "It's with the police," Alex said. "They're on their way here right now." Martin's smile faded. "You're lying." "Am I? Check your phone. I bet you have a dozen missed calls from your lawyer by now." Martin pulled out his phone with his free hand, keeping the knife steady. His expression darkened as he scrolled through notifications. "You idiots," he hissed. "You've ruined everything." "Let Sophie go," I said. "This is over." "It's not over until I say it's over." He raised the knife, and I moved without thinking, lunging forward. Alex fired, not at Martin, but at the ceiling, the loud crack deafening in the enclosed space. Martin flinched, and I tackled him, driving him away from Sophie. We crashed into a pile of old crates. The knife skittered across the concrete floor. Martin fought like a cornered animal, clawing and biting, but I was fueled by rage and terror. I pinned him down, my fists connecting with his face once, twice, 3 times. "Nick, stop." Alex pulled me off. "He's done." Martin lay on the ground, red streaming from his nose, whimpering. The mighty executive reduced to a pathetic, broken man. Karen had already untied Sophie, who ran to me sobbing. I held her tight, feeling her heartbeat against my chest, alive and safe. "It's okay," I whispered. "You're okay. I've got you." Sirens wailed outside. Detective Ramirez burst in with a team of officers, tools drawn. "Everybody freeze!" Alex held up his hands. "Ex-cop! The suspect is on the ground. The girl is safe." Ramirez took in the scene, then nodded to her team. They moved in, cuffing Martin and reading him his rights. He didn't resist, just stared at Karen with hollow, obsessive eyes. "This isn't over," he said as they dragged him away. "You'll never be free of me." "Watch me," Karen said coldly. We gave statements at the warehouse, then again at the police station. It took hours. Sophie stayed close to me the entire time, holding my hand like she used to when she was little. By the time we finished, it was 3 in the morning. Ramirez walked us out. "We'll need more statements tomorrow," she said. "But for now, go home, get some rest." "What about the missing women?" I asked. "Did Martin really help them, or was he lying?" "We're investigating. His properties are being searched. If they're alive, we'll find them. And if they're not, then he'll face homicide charges instead of kidnapping." She looked at Karen. "You should know, Mrs. Evans, your name is going to be all over the news. The affair, the evidence planted in your coat, all of it. It won't be pleasant." "I know," Karen said quietly. We drove home in Alex's car, Sophie asleep in the back seat. Karen sat in the passenger seat, staring out the window. "Thank you," she said finally, "for coming after us, for not giving up. She's my daughter." "I know, and I'm sorry for everything. The affair, the lies, the way I treated you. I convinced myself I deserved more, that you were holding me back. But I was just running from my own unhappiness." "Why are you telling me this now?" "Because I almost lost her. Almost lost everything that actually matters. And I realized that my career, my image, Martin, none of it means anything without Sophie, without family. We're not a family anymore, Karen. We haven't been for a long time." "I know, but maybe we could be friends, for Sophie's sake." I didn't answer. I was too tired, too emotionally drained to think about the future. We dropped Alex at his apartment with promises to talk soon, then drove to our house. I carried Sophie inside and tucked her into bed, watching her sleep for a long moment before heading downstairs. Karen was in the kitchen, making tea. "I'm going to stay with my sister for a while," she said. "Give you and Sophie some space. We can figure out the divorce details later." "Okay." "I mean it, Nick. I'm sorry for all of it." "I know you are, but sorry doesn't fix what's broken." She nodded, tears in her eyes, and went upstairs to pack. I sat alone in the kitchen, drinking her abandoned tea, trying to process everything. My wife had an affair. Her lover framed her for kidnapping and possibly homicide. My daughter was traumatized. My marriage was over, but Sophie was alive. That was what mattered. The rest, I'd figure out tomorrow. The news broke the next morning. Local executive arrested in connection with missing women read the headline with a photo of Martin being led away in handcuffs. By noon, Karen's name was everywhere. Consultant's affair leads to kidnapping plot, wife's secret life exposed. My phone rang constantly. Reporters, neighbors, people I hadn't spoken to in years, all wanting the story. I ignored them all. Sophie stayed home from school. She sat on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, scrolling through her phone with a haunted expression. "They're talking about it at school," she said. "Everyone knows." "I'm sorry, sweetheart. Is Mom really having an affair?" There was no point lying. Yes, she was. It's over now. "Are you getting divorced?" "Probably." "Good." Her voice was flat, emotionless. "She doesn't deserve you." "Sophie, I mean it, Dad. She's been awful to you for years. I saw it, even if you thought I didn't. The way she talked to you, like you were stupid. The way she was never home. I'm glad it's over." I sat beside her, putting my arm around her shoulders. "Your mom made mistakes, but she loves you. That hasn't changed. She put me in danger. Martin put you in danger, not your mom. She brought him into our lives." I couldn't argue with that. Detective Ramirez called that afternoon with an update. "We found them. The missing women. They're alive." Relief flooded through me. "Where?" "A compound in Montana. Martin set it up years ago. Convinced these women he was rescuing them from harmful situations. He gave them new identities, jobs, housing. They had no idea they were listed as missing persons." "So he was telling the truth?" "Partially. He did help them escape bad situations, but he also isolated them, controlled them, made them dependent on him. It's a cult mentality. We're working with psychologists to deprogram them and reunite them with their families." "And the hair in Karen's coat?" "Martin planted it. He collected samples from each woman before they left, kept them as trophies. When Karen ended the affair, he decided to frame her, make her look like a butcher. If you hadn't found the evidence when you did, he would have tipped off the police himself. He's insane. He's a narcissist with a savior complex. He genuinely believes he was helping those women and that Karen betrayed him by not appreciating his gift. He'll spend the rest of his life in prison, but in his mind, he's the victim." "What about Karen? Is she facing charges?" "No, she's clear. The affair is messy, but not illegal. Her employer might fire her, but that's a civil matter. After Ramirez hung up, I sat in my office above the gym, staring at the evidence I'd collected. The list, the photos, the recordings. Proof of Karen's affair and Martin's obsession. I could destroy it. Let Karen rebuild her life without the constant reminder of her mistakes. Or I could use it. The thought came unbidden, dark and tempting. Karen had humiliated me for years. Treated me like I was nothing. Made me feel small and worthless in my own home. I could return the favor. I could leak the recordings to the media, showing her complicity in Martin's scheme. Even if she didn't know what he was doing, she'd interviewed those women, gained their trust, provided information Martin used to manipulate them. I could ruin her career, her reputation, her life. The idea sat in my mind like poison, sweet and toxic. My phone buzzed. A text from Sophie. "Dad, can we order pizza tonight? I don't feel like cooking." I looked at the message, then at the evidence on my desk. What kind of man did I want to be? The kind who sought revenge, who dragged his daughter's mother through the mud for satisfaction? Or the kind who took the high road, who focused on healing instead of hurting? I thought about my father, who died when I was 25. He'd been a good man, quiet and steady, the kind who fixed things instead of breaking them. "What would you do, Dad?" I asked the empty office. The answer came immediately. He'd let it go. He'd focus on Sophie, on building a better life, on being the parent she needed. I gathered the evidence and drove to Detective Ramirez's office. She looked surprised when I walked in. "I want to give you everything," I said, handing her the files. "All the evidence I collected. Use it for the case against Martin. I don't need it anymore." "You sure? This could help in your divorce proceedings?" "I'm sure. I just want to move forward." She nodded, understanding. "For what it's worth, I think you're doing the right thing." I left feeling lighter, like I'd put down a weight I'd been carrying for years. That night, Sophie and I ate pizza on the couch and watched terrible reality TV. She laughed for the first time since the kidnapping, and the sound was the best thing I'd heard in months. "Dad," she said during a commercial break. "Yeah, I'm glad you came for me. I was really scared." "I'll always come for you, Sophie. Always." She hugged me and I held her tight, grateful for second chances and new beginnings. The next week was a blur of legal meetings and therapy sessions. Karen moved out officially, taking only her clothes and personal items. The house felt empty without her, but also peaceful. Sophie started seeing a counselor to process the trauma. I joined a support group for divorced parents. We were rebuilding, slowly but surely. Martin's trial was set for 6 months away. The media circus continued, but I stopped paying attention. It didn't matter anymore. What mattered was the life I was building with Sophie. The quiet evenings, the honest conversations, the slow healing of wounds I didn't know I had. One afternoon, about 3 weeks after everything happened, I was working in my office when Alex showed up. "Got a minute?" he asked. "Always." He sat down, looking uncomfortable. "I need to tell you something about the investigation." "What?" "Ramirez found something about Karen." My stomach dropped. "What did she find?" "The interviews Karen conducted. They weren't just for a book. She was being paid by Martin." "What?" "He hired her to identify vulnerable women. She'd interview them, gain their trust, get information about their lives and families. Then she'd pass that information to Martin, and he'd use it to convince them to disappear." "She was working with him?" She claimed she didn't know what he was doing with the information, that she thought it was for a legitimate research project. But Nick, she was paid $50,000 per interview. The room spun. She knew. She had to know. Maybe, maybe not. But Ramirez thinks there's enough evidence to charge her as an accessory. Does Sophie know? "Not yet. I wanted to tell you first." I put my head in my hands. "I gave up the evidence. I let it go. I tried to do the right thing." "You did do the right thing. This isn't your fault. She's Sophie's mother. If she goes to prison, she might not. Her lawyer is good, and there's reasonable doubt. But you need to prepare Sophie for the possibility." I wanted to scream, wanted to punch something, wanted to go back in time and never pick up that awful coat. But I couldn't. All I could do was move forward. "I'll tell her tonight," I said. "You want me there?" "No, this is something I need to do alone." That evening, after dinner, I sat Sophie down and explained everything. She listened quietly, her expression unreadable. "So Mom might go to jail?" she asked when I finished. "Maybe. I don't know. Do you think she knew what Martin was doing?" I honestly don't know, Sophie. Part of me wants to believe she didn't, but part of me thinks she had to suspect something. I don't want to see her, Sophie said suddenly. If she goes to trial, if she's convicted, I don't want to visit her in prison. I can't. You don't have to decide that now. I'm deciding it now. She made her choices. I'm making mine. I pulled her into a hug, my heart breaking for her. 15 was too young to lose faith in a parent, but life didn't care about fair. The trial preparations dragged on. Karen's lawyer fought the charges, arguing she was a victim of Martin's manipulation. The prosecution countered that she'd knowingly participated in a scheme to isolate vulnerable women. I stayed out of it, focusing on Sophie and my business. Old Man Eddie's dry cleaning shop became a regular stop, not for cleaning, but for coffee and conversation. He'd been through his own divorce decades ago and had wisdom to share. The thing about betrayal, he said one afternoon, is that it changes you, makes you harder, more cautious. But it doesn't have to make you bitter. That's a choice. How do you avoid bitterness? You remember that people are complicated. They do bad things for reasons that make sense to them, even if those reasons are twisted. You don't have to forgive, but you can understand. And understanding takes away some of the poison. I thought about his words a lot in the following weeks. Karen's trial date was set for September. In the meantime, she was allowed to stay out on bail, but she couldn't contact Sophie without supervision. She called me once asking to see our daughter. She doesn't want to see you, I said. Please, Nick, I need to explain. There's nothing to explain. You made choices. Now you live with them. I didn't know what Martin was doing. You have to believe me. I don't have to believe anything. And frankly, I don't care anymore. You're Sophie's problem now, not mine. Don't turn her against me. I didn't have to. You did that yourself. I hung up, feeling nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, just emptiness. The months passed. Summer came, hot and humid. Sophie went to camp, made new friends, started smiling again. I dated a woman from my support group, nothing serious, just coffee and conversation. But it felt good to connect with someone who understood. Martin's trial concluded first. He was convicted on 6 counts of kidnapping and sentenced to 30 years. The women he'd saved gave victim impact statements describing the psychological damage he'd caused. He showed no remorse, insisting until the end that he'd been helping them. Karen's trial started in September as scheduled. I didn't attend, but I followed the news coverage. Her lawyer argued she'd been manipulated, that she genuinely believed she was conducting research for a book. The prosecution presented evidence of the payments, the detailed information she'd gathered, the suspicious timing of her interviews. The jury deliberated for 3 days, guilty on 2 counts of conspiracy, not guilty on the others. She was sentenced to 5 years, with possibility of parole after 3. Sophie cried when I told her, but she didn't ask to visit. She'd made her choice. I felt nothing. No victory, no vindication. Just a sad acceptance that this was how our story ended. Karen's sentencing was scheduled for a Friday morning in late September. I hadn't planned to attend. What was the point? But Sophie surprised me the night before. I want to go, she said. Are you sure? I need to see it, to know it's real. So we went. The courthouse was packed with reporters, victims' families, and curious onlookers. We sat in the back, trying to be invisible. Karen was led in wearing an orange jumpsuit, her hair pulled back, no makeup. She looked small, diminished, nothing like the powerful consultant who'd once commanded boardrooms. Her eyes found mine across the courtroom, and something passed between us. Not forgiveness, not hatred, just acknowledgement. We'd both lost everything in different ways. The judge read the sentence. 5 years in a minimum security facility, with mandatory counseling and restitution to the victims' families. Karen's lawyer requested she be allowed to make a statement. The judge agreed. Karen stood, her hands shaking. I want to apologize to the women I hurt. I was selfish and blind, and I convinced myself I was doing something good when I was really just enabling a monster. I'm sorry to my daughter, Sophie, for failing her as a mother. And I'm sorry to my husband, ex-husband, for the years of pain I caused. She looked directly at me. Nick, I know you'll never forgive me. I don't deserve forgiveness. But I want you to know that the best thing I ever did was marry you. And the worst thing I ever did was forget that. You're a good man, and Sophie is lucky to have you. The words should have meant something, but they felt hollow. Too little, too late. The judge dismissed the court. Karen was led away. Sophie and I walked out into the autumn sunshine. You okay? I asked. Yeah, I think I am. Want to get lunch? Can we go to that diner you like? The one with the good fries? Absolutely. We drove to the diner, the same one where Alex and I had eaten countless times. Sophie ordered a burger and fries, and we sat in comfortable silence, watching the world go by outside the window. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. This is Melissa Young, Karen's friend. We need to talk. I showed Sophie the message. You know who this is? Mom's best friend. She used to come over all the time. Should I respond? I don't know. What does she want? I texted back, what about? The response came immediately. I have information about Karen. Things she didn't tell the police. Meet me at Riverside Park in 1 hour. It's probably a trap, Sophie said. Probably. Are you going to go? I don't know. What do you think? I think, she paused, considering. I think you should go, but take Alex with you. Smart kid. I called Alex, explained the situation. He agreed to meet me at the park. Riverside Park was a small green space along the water, popular with joggers and dog walkers. Melissa was waiting on a bench near the fountain, wearing sunglasses and a baseball cap like she was in a spy movie. Nick, she said as I approached. Alex stayed back, watching. Thank you for coming. What do you want, Melissa? I want to tell you the truth about Karen, about Martin, about everything. Why now? Because I can't live with it anymore. The guilt is eating me alive. I sat down, keeping distance between us. Talk. Karen didn't know what Martin was doing. Not at first. He told her he was funding a research project about domestic misuse survivors, and that he wanted to help these women. She believed him because she wanted to believe him, because he made her feel important and valued in a way you never did. That's not my fault. I know, I'm not blaming you. I'm explaining. But here's the thing. About 6 months before everything fell apart, Karen started to suspect something was wrong. One of the women she interviewed called her, saying Martin had approached her with an offer to disappear. Karen confronted him, and he admitted what he was doing. My blood ran cold. She knew. She knew. And he convinced her to keep quiet. He said the women wanted to disappear, that he was giving them a chance at a new life. He said if she told anyone, he'd make sure she went down with him. He had evidence of her involvement, the payments, the interviews, all of it. She was trapped. She could have gone to the police. And lose everything, her career, her reputation, her daughter. Martin made it clear that if she betrayed him, he'd destroy her, so she stayed quiet and hoped it would all go away. Why are you telling me this? Because I was involved too. Martin paid me to help recruit the women, to identify vulnerable targets. I introduced him to some of them, and when everything came out, I kept my mouth shut to save myself, but Karen's in prison, and I'm free, and it's not right. So turn yourself in. I will, but first I wanted you to know the truth. Karen made terrible choices, but she's not the monster everyone thinks she is. She's just weak and scared, and she loved you in her own broken way. Love isn't an excuse. No, but maybe it's an explanation. Melissa stood. I'm going to the police now. I'm going to tell them everything. Maybe it'll help Karen's appeal, maybe it won't. But at least I'll be able to sleep at night. She walked away, leaving me alone on the bench. Alex joined me. You believe her? I don't know. Does it matter? Might matter to Sophie. Might matter to you. Karen still made her choices. Knowing the truth doesn't change what she did. No, but it might change how you feel about it. We walked back to the parking lot in silence. My phone buzzed again. This time, a call from Detective Ramirez. Nick, we just got a confession from Melissa Young. She's corroborating Karen's story. Says Martin coerced her into silence. This could change things for Karen's appeal. Will she get out? Maybe. Reduced sentence at least. But it'll take time, months, probably years. Thanks for letting me know. I hung up and stood in the parking lot trying to process everything. Karen might get out early. Melissa was turning herself in. The truth was more complicated than I'd thought, but none of it changed the fundamental fact. My marriage was over, my daughter was traumatized, and our lives had been blown apart. Dad? Sophie was waiting by the car. What did she say? I told her everything. She listened quietly, then said, Do you think Mom will get out? Maybe, eventually. Will you take her back? No, sweetheart. That part of my life is over. Good, she paused. But maybe I could visit her, someday, when I'm ready. Whenever you're ready, I'll support you. Thanks, Dad. We drove home and I felt something shift inside me. Not forgiveness, exactly, but a loosening of the anger I'd been carrying. Understanding, like Eddie had said. People were complicated, and sometimes there were no clear villains, just broken people making bad choices. The next few months were quiet. Melissa was charged as an accessory and sentenced to 3 years. Karen's lawyer filed an appeal based on the new evidence. The media moved on to other scandals. Sophie and I settled into a routine. School, work, therapy, dinner together every night. We were healing, slowly but surely. In December, I got a letter from Karen. It was short, handwritten on prison stationery. Nick, I heard about Melissa's confession. I know it doesn't change what I did, but I hope it helps you understand why I did it. I was scared and stupid and selfish. I thought I could control the situation, but I was just making it worse. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even expect you to read this. But I wanted you to know that I'm sorry, truly, deeply sorry, for the affair, for the lies, for putting Sophie in danger, for wasting the years we had together by always looking for something more. You were enough, Nick. You were always enough. I was just too blind to see it. I hope you and Sophie are doing well. I hope you found happiness, or at least peace. You both deserve it. Karen. I read the letter 3 times, then put it in a drawer. Maybe someday I'd show it to Sophie. Maybe not. It didn't matter. What mattered was the life we were building now, without Karen's shadow hanging over us. Christmas came. Sophie and I decorated the tree together, made cookies, watched old movies. It wasn't the family I'd imagined when I got married, but it was enough. On Christmas Eve, as we sat by the tree, Sophie said, "Dad, I've been thinking." "About what?" "About Mom. I think I want to write her a letter. Not to forgive her, but just to tell her how I feel. Is that okay?" "Of course it's okay. You can have whatever relationship with her you want." "I don't want a relationship, not yet. Maybe not ever, but I want her to know that I'm okay, that we're okay. That she didn't completely destroy us." "That sounds healthy." She smiled, and I saw my father's stubbornness in her eyes, mixed with Karen's intelligence and my own determination. She was going to be fine. We both were. In January, I got a call from Detective Ramirez. "Thought you'd want to know. The appeals court ruled on Karen's case. Her sentence was reduced to 3 years, time served counting as 1. She'll be eligible for parole in 18 months. How is she? According to her lawyer, she's doing well, attending counseling, working in the prison library. She's trying to make amends. Good for her. You sound like you mean that. I do. I don't want her to suffer. I just don't want her in my life. Fair enough. Take care of yourself, Nick. You too, Detective. I hung up and went back to work. My business was growing. I'd hired 2 employees and moved into a proper office space. Sophie was thriving in school, talking about colleges and careers. We were moving forward, building something new from the wreckage of the old. One evening in March, I was closing up the office when I saw a familiar car in the parking lot. Karen's sister Beth got out and walked toward me. "Nick," she said, "can we talk?" "About what?" "Karen. She's up for parole next month." She wanted me to ask if you'd be willing to write a letter to the parole board, not supporting her release, just acknowledging that she's taken responsibility for her actions. Why would I do that? Because despite everything, you're a good man. And because Sophie might want a relationship with her mother someday, and that'll be easier if Karen's out. I thought about it. Thought about the years of pain, the betrayal, the trauma. Thought about Sophie's letter, about healing and moving forward. "I'll think about it," I said. "That's all I'm asking." She left, and I stood in the parking lot watching the sunset. The sky was orange and purple, beautiful in that fleeting way that reminds you nothing lasts forever. Not pain, not anger, not even love. I went home and wrote the letter to the parole board. "My name is Nick Evans, and I'm writing regarding Karen Evans's parole hearing. I want to be clear. I'm not advocating for or against her release. That's your decision to make. What I can tell you is that Karen has taken responsibility for her actions. She's apologized to me and to our daughter. She's acknowledged the harm she caused. Whether that's enough for parole is not for me to say. What I know is that everyone deserves a chance at redemption. Karen made terrible choices, but she's not beyond saving. If you decide to release her, I hope she uses that opportunity to become the person she should have been all along. If you decide she needs more time, I'll respect that too. Sincerely, Nick Evans." I mailed it the next day and didn't think about it again. In April, Sophie came home from school with news. Mom got parole. She's getting out next month. How do you feel about that? I don't know, scared maybe, but also relieved. Like this chapter can finally close. You don't have to see her if you don't want to. I know, but I think I do want to, eventually, just to see if she's really changed. That's brave of you. I learned it from you. Karen was released in May on a Tuesday morning. I didn't go to pick her up. Her sister did that. But I saw her a week later when she came to pick up some belongings from the house. She looked different, older, thinner, with gray streaks in her hair she hadn't bothered to dye. But her eyes were clearer, more present. "Nick," she said, "thank you for the letter. I know I didn't deserve it." "You're right. You didn't. I'm not going to ask for forgiveness. I know that's not possible. But I want you to know that I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to make amends. To Sophie, to the women I hurt, to everyone. Good luck with that." "Can I see her, Sophie?" "That's up to her. She knows you're out. If she wants to see you, she'll reach out." Fair enough. She picked up the box of her things. Photos, books, mementos from a life that no longer existed. "You're a good man, Nick. I hope you find someone who appreciates that." "I'm not looking." "You should be. You deserve to be happy." She left, and I watched her drive away, feeling nothing but a vague sense of closure. Sophie did eventually reach out to Karen. They met for coffee, awkward and tense, but it was a start. I stayed out of it, letting them rebuild their relationship on their own terms. As for me, I focused on my business, on Sophie, on the life I was creating. I started dating again. Nothing serious, just reminders that I was still alive, still capable of connection. One evening in June, almost a year after everything had started, I was at Old Man Eddie's shop picking up some shirts when he handed me a package. "What's this?" I asked. "Your wife's coat, the one you brought in last year. I kept it as evidence for the trial, but now that everything's settled, I figured you might want it back or throw it away, whatever gives you closure." I took the coat, feeling its weight. The coat that had started everything, that had held the list and the hair and the secrets. "Thanks, Eddie. You doing okay, kid?" "Yeah, I think I am." "Good. Your old man would be proud." I drove home and stood in the driveway holding the coat. I could keep it, a reminder of everything that had happened, or I could let it go. I chose to let it go. I drove to the river to the industrial district where Martin's warehouse still stood empty, awaiting demolition. I walked to the edge of the water and threw the coat in, watching it sink beneath the surface. "Stains never wash out," I said to the empty air, "but sometimes you just have to throw away the whole awful thing." I turned and walked back to my truck, feeling lighter than I had in years. Sophie was waiting when I got home, sitting on the porch with her laptop. "Where'd you go?" she asked. "Just tying up loose ends." "Everything okay?" "Everything's perfect. And for the first time in a long time, I meant it. We were okay. Scarred, changed, but okay. And that was enough. That was more than enough.